All right. So, hey, MJ, it's so good to see you again. Thank you
Yes.
for joining me to talk about self-love from the male perspective. So last month, I had my first women improvement call, which we talked about self-love, and it's for women only. And during the conversation, I felt like some of the women really poured out about some of the challenges that they had. But when I was actually sharing the flyer for the event, I had a few guys that mentioned that they would love to be a part of the conversation, just to be a fly on the wall. And I felt like since we talked about self-love in the singles house and you really, really appear to be a self-love advocate, I felt you were the perfect person to have this conversation with. So I just want to open it up a little bit and let you tell us a little about who MJ is. Like, who are you? Tell us about yourself.
Who is MJ? Okay, so I'm a believer. I'm a author, a published model. Um, what else? Certified life coach, uh, fitness instructor. Seems like a lot, but really, I'm a jack and no trade, a master of service, and also, like you said, like a self-love advocate as well. So that's a little bit of everything. My main focus is helping people to be their best selves, whether it's mentally, physically, or spiritually. Just trying to be a positive spark for people.
Yeah. So you said mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I know on your IG, you really promote the mental, spiritual, and physical diet. That's one thing
Yeah,
that I always see you kind of hit
yeah.
on. So obviously that is a way of life for you. It's not just right a quote that's on IG. So when you think about self-love, because I don't hear men talk about this really. So when you think about self-love, what does that mean to you?
Self-love. When I think about self-love, it's broad, right? But at the same time, it's for me personally, my perspective is it's just being in tune with yourself. Like a lot of times we want to be in a relationship so bad, right? And what does being in a relationship entails? Entails you communicating with somebody, spending time with them, sacrificing for them, compromising for them, right? That's what you want to be with somebody. And if you say that you love them, right? So for me, when it comes to self-love, it's the same thing. Like, are you spending time with yourself, right? Are you speaking and listening to yourself? Are you making necessary sacrifices to improve yourself? It's really just being in tune with yourself. That's self-love for me.
Now, do you feel like it was like a turning point for you, or can you think of when you first discovered self-love? Like, when did it really become important to you? I know for me, and I'm 36, it's probably only the last few years that I really made it a priority. So can you think of a time where like it really became a priority for you?
I can't put like an exact date on it. I feel like, for me, I think it's more so like an awakening. I'd say, so I'm 28 now, so I'd say about, I don't know, maybe like 24, 25. Um, when I really started to just like assess my life and my life was going, and one day I just had a thought. I'm like, how do you expect someone to like you and to fall in love with you when you don't like and you're not in love with yourself? Like, you don't even like spending time with yourself, but you want someone to spend time with you. It's so unfair. You don't like you, but you must like me. So for me, I just remember it's just and I was like, at that time in my life, I started to read more and stuff as well. And that's when I started to really tap into my inner self, and with meditation, praying, fasting, and just reading, just going on that journey of self-development. It kind of awakened that this whole self-love, I'd say, advocate that I became, because now I was just so obsessed with improving myself, and that's why I say I can't put a date on it, but that's when it started for me, when I started just reading, meditating, and just improving myself as a man. I started to realize, this is what you should be doing. You should be spending time with yourself, and you could be in a relationship, right? You could be in a relationship, but that doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. You know, a lot of times we get in relationships and we say, hey, this person completes me, which means that you're going in there insufficient, or a half, not completed. And it shouldn't be that way, right? No human should complete you. A person may compliment you, but they should not never complete you. And I feel like that's because they condition it, and we feel like we can't be whole on our own. And that's a lie. That's not facts, you know? Like, you can be whole on your own. And that's the whole, you want to be whole. You want two whole people coming into a relationship. That's what makes it beautiful. When two half people come, that's what causes, you know, all the issues, because now we have all these undealt traumas and insecurities and habits that we never dealt with. You know, whereas if we're healed and we're whole, we come together, we can build something beautiful.
I just listened to a podcast earlier about a couple who had been married for 12 years and they were not whole or healed. And now they're going to divorce with 2 kids, and they've never, you know, gotten to that place. So that's powerful. You are a believer, and I am too. And I have picked up meditation, which I feel like has been so important for like my self-care routine. What are some of the things that you do for like meditation? Because and me, my experience, you know, sometimes people feel meditation is not something that Christians should do, but there's so many different forms of meditation, right? It looks different. So what type of meditation do you do, you know, to practice self-love?
I will talk about meditating day and night. You understand? And like, you look at it, Jesus meditated all the time, you know? So I feel like people like, you know, religious people, they make meditations spooky, right? They add a negative connotation to it. But it's basically all you're doing is being still, right? And assessing your thoughts. That's all you're doing, and trying to direct your thoughts, right? And just being in tune with yourself. So I don't know what's spooky about that. I guess because, you know, like, I guess the Buddhists, they meditate, different religions meditate, but then other denominations, other religions, they pray as well. We don't say prayer is spooky, you know? So for me, meditating, you know, is spending, whether it's 10, 20 minutes, I like to just sit still. I play some soft, you know, meditative music, whether it's, you know, hearing the waves, whether it's waves, rain. Sometimes I listen to something. I do guided meditation, to where, like the one that, you know, what we did at the singles house, that was guided, you know. But it's just basically, man, just sitting, just being still, assessing your thoughts, trying to direct your thoughts, right? A lot of times we don't even know that we have the same exact thoughts every single day, right? So if you're having the same exact thoughts every single day and your life isn't where it needs to be, the only way your life is going to change if you change those thoughts, right? But because we're going and 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 going, we never sit still and say, okay, why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling this way? Right? And all meditation does is it gives you a chance to be in control. So now you say, you know what? You're telling the body to stay still, and you're instructing your body, your mind, what to think, how to feel. And that's meditation for me.
Okay. Thank you. Because I know it's something that's kind of taboo when people think about it. So thank you for sharing it. Yeah. All right. So when you think about like just self-love, what have been some of the benefits that you think of you like really making it a priority that you've seen in your life? Maybe personally or professionally, but like, what are some of the benefits that you can call out just when you think about self-love for yourself?
Well, it's so much benefits. You know, I like to tell people all the time that the better you become, the better you attract, right? You don't ever lose working on yourself. You know, so for me, it's just, it makes you more magnetic, right? It makes you more magnetic. You step in the building, just give you a different glow, different confidence. And, you know, having that, just feeling differently about yourself, you're going to attract different, right? Because now your energy, right, is different, you know, and understand that your frequency changes, you know. So if everything that we attract, you know, is based on how we feel, you know, if you're frequently doing this, right, because your frequency is built based on what you do frequently, right? So because you're on a certain wavelength, right, you're going to attract all the things that you want. So for me, I was saying just my life just flowing in a different way. I've seen a different glow. I see that I'm attracting high quality people. Basically, I'm controlling my destiny. You know, like I'm, you know, because how can I say this? it's like when you're not intentional, you're living by default, right? But when you're intentional, we're just doing the self-work. You're intentional. Now you're living by design. So it's different. You know, you're not just out here living, you're actually controlling what comes into your life. So I definitely I've seen a lot of positives in my personal relationships, professional relationships, just overall and everything, that my day-to-day activities and interactions.
So you, just your profession and what you do on a day-to-day, you interact with a lot of people. When you interact with other men, whether that's in a professional setting or a personal setting, you know, do you all have conversations that openly talk about self-love or self-care when it comes to being a man? Being a man, I feel like women, you see it all the time. If I look up the hashtag self-love on IG right now, I'm pretty sure all women are going to show up. So do you all have like those conversations about it?
Not really, not really, because, as men, most, like, it's so different, like men are drawn to the flash, right? The cars, the money, they're drawn to that, and so if you're a guy that you're trying to, bring light in that area, like, if you're not flashy, you're not showing a certain thing, like men just don't care. We just don't really talk about it. That's definitely, more females, they're more females, women are more aware and more conscious when it comes to, just self-love and just having those conversations. So for me, I'd say with my day-to-day interactions, I don't really talk, to most men about, self-love. It's more about sports, cars. We just don't go that deep. Men are very like we don't go that deep. Unless someone, right, to where, maybe he had a breakup or something. You'd be like, bro, this, now we're talking about the situation, but we don't just openly be like, bro, like, you need to love yourself. You need to, you need to work. You need to spend time with yourself. You need to, move this way and not that way. We don't, me and Caleb do though. Me and Caleb, me and Caleb. So we link every Wednesday. Every Wednesday we link. We fast on Wednesday and then we talk. And then we've been helping each other, on this journey. So, it's dope. But like my day to day, most men, we're not talking about self-love. We're talking about basketball, football, Ferrari and Bentleys and stuff.
Oh, those are outside of my conversations. That is so good to hear that you and Caleb are fasting and still connecting. I don't know if you have been keeping up with the Singles House, but there were a lot of people like, where's y'all podcast?
I know. We on that too. Yeah.
I think that I think both of you brought really great perspectives. So I hope that's in God's plan in the future, but I think that you would get a lot of men and women, because I've sent it to some men that will probably tune in. So that's good to hear. So you and you guys, y'all don't really talk about it. And my brother, I was telling him that, he's been watching Singles House, and I was telling him how you're such a huge self-care advocate, and even shared, you had that one viral Instagram post that like you had millions of views. And, when I talked to him about it, I was like, I'm gonna sit with him. He was like, a lot of men perceive self-love to be for women. And you kind of talked about that too. So for any guy that doesn't think that it's important or is struggling on where to start, like, what would be your advice on the first steps to really making self-love a priority?
Right. I'd say, as a guy, you have to understand you're put on earth to be the leader, right? We're not the head, we're the foundation. And as a guy, as a men, we want to lead, we want a leadership role, but it's almost unfair to want to lead if you don't lead yourself first, right? It's almost, unfair, like if you, to want a certain type of respect and honor if you don't honor yourself, so, as a guy, I'd say, spending time with yourself, getting to understand yourself, falling in love with yourself, and you do that in different ways. Everybody don't like to read. Some guys will be really hard to meditate, but just being more intentional, right? Because a lot of times, like we don't think, like we don't take the time to assess how we're feeling, why we think the way we're thinking. And actually, over the weekend, well, yesterday to the conference, it was this great analogy, and it kind of like, it's just a great example of how, like, what happens on a day-to-day basis. So it's this mother, right? So this wife and her husband, it was Thanksgiving, and she's baking this ham, right? And she cut the ham in half, and she threw the other half of ham away. So the husband was like, "Baby, why you only bake half a ham? Like, why'd you waste the other half?" She said, "I've seen my mom do it." So the husband went to the mother, right, which is his mom-in-law. He's like, "Hey, I see my wife, she's Thanksgiving. She took half of the ham, she threw the other half away, and she only baked half of it." She's like, "Yeah, I seen my mom do it." So the husband went to the grandmother now and said, "Hey, I spoke to my mother-in-law and my wife, and they have this habit of, like, every time it's Thanksgiving, they'll cut the ham in half, they'll bake half and throw the other half away. That's wasting. Like, why do you guys do that?" And she said, "Well, back in the day, right, my mom, they had no refrigerator, right? And they only had a this little small oven thing to bake. It could only hold half a ham. And if they couldn't keep the other half because it would spoil, right? So they had to cut it in half, throw half away, and then, bake what could fit in the oven. So that's why they did that, right?" And so it went 3-4 generations. No one ever asked why we only bake ham. Right?
Wasting food.
But I'm like, wow, how many other things that we do, like that, where we never take the time to say, "Hey, why am I thinking this way? Why am I moving this way?" And as a guy, like right now there's this whole thing of being a simp. I don't know if you heard the word. It's
Yes.
not simp. He's a simp. Yeah, like it's so crazy. Like, why are we thinking the way we think? Why are we doing some things that we do? So for me, that story it made me assess myself as a guy and be like, man, is this the right way? Is it the guy code that we're taught is like the right way to go? Right? Because I don't want to follow the guy code. I want to follow the king's code. Like, the guy code is what we made. And there's a king's code that what God required and how to move and how to manifest as a man. So, for any guy, I'd say the first step, man, is just getting still. It's getting still and assessing your thoughts in your mind and being, just having that it's hard, but that real self-discovery journey, and get going from there. Yeah.
That's funny about the ham, but you think about it, like, just in life, right? Generational trends. We do things that we have no idea why our parents did it, but we just do it, and we get the opportunity to break it, right? And
Right.
create a different legacy. So that was a good analogy. When you think about, okay, so being still as an adult, how can we, and we talk about this in a singles house about boys and girls being raised differently. But because we're talking about boys specifically, like, how can we help our youth at a young age really instill self-love in them, I should say? So when you think about maybe like the younger boys that may, personally or just in general, like, do you think there's anything that we can do to be intentional about practicing self-love with them or showing them the importance?
Yeah, I think for most men, most girls, they've heard "I love you" before from a dad and their mom, right? Most men never hear "I love you" from a male, from a father perspective. So I'd say just being, I won't say this is softer, but just treating young boys, like we treat young girls. Like they need love and affection and that type of security as well. A lot of times we feel like, hey, if you're raising a young man and he's not tough, right? You gotta give him tough love, but then you want to give your daughter this love, right? Why don't it was tough love? This why don't you just love your son just like you love your daughter? And it starts with that. It starts with us being as men being comfortable saying, "Hey, I love you," to a young boy, right? Let them know that, hey, reading is cool, right? Yeah, playing basketball is cool. Playing football is cool, but reading is cool, right? Teaching them having more of these conversations on like meditation, like showing them how to be still, whether it's and at first they may not get it, but all you want to do is like plant the seed, right? You just want to plant a seed and be a spark. And maybe they don't get it at 10 or 15, but maybe they get at 18, and I think it starts with, I think it all starts with the family dynamics in the home. So how we treat our daughters and our sons. Like it shouldn't be a different. We shouldn't just have tough love towards my son and regular love towards my daughter. I should love both, and I should not. We shouldn't be afraid to show them that show young men that soft side that that we need. And a lot of times we don't get that. We don't get that, and we grow up hard and angry and just so closed in to where we just can't express ourselves, right? Because we've never seen it, and it's never been pulled out of us, so we'll ask the young girl, like, hey, what happened to you? Like, talk to me, like we wanted to express ourselves. We wanted to open up. For a young man, we went, hey, shut up. You're a man up, so over time, all that does is like, it just builds this anger and rage and all that, so I feel like we need to do less of that. And we need to treat young men how we treat young women.
That's good. That is good because, even men will grow to think that in relationships, that's okay too, right? If they try to express themselves and their partner's like, men up, y'all really want to hear it. So it definitely sets a tone throughout their life. So I don't want to get all in your business, but I want to roll into relationships. Just not so much romantic relationships, but I do want to hear from your perspective about self-love and how it affects all relationships in your life, not just romantic relationships, but like even the relationships that you may have with your family and friends. Do you feel like being a self-love advocate, which I'm going to assume comes with some boundaries, if you're wrong, but it's going to come with some boundaries and probably protecting some of your peace. So correct me if I'm wrong, but like, how does that affect your relationships with others?
Yeah, it does. And you use the perfect word. You say boundaries as well, because what it does is the only way that you can actually like love yourself and go down this journey is if you create boundaries, right? A lot of times we feel like saying yes all the time. It makes us more liked, right? It makes us more accepted. When all it does is just depletes you, right? Now you're depleted because you're saying yes, 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 yes. You're going to places you don't want to go. You're hanging out with people you don't want to hang out with. You're doing things you don't want to do, right? And you thinking that's you being a good person, right? But that's just you being you're depleting yourself, and also you're running away from yourself, right? And for me, just self-love affects everything, because now, I don't hang certain places. I don't hang with certain people. I don't do certain things, right? I don't say yes to everything. I have a schedule, like I have to, you can't just call me randomly, be like, hey, let's go to this. Hey, let's do this. Hey, so it affects your personal relationships with your friends. But I feel like if you're anyone that respects you, and they respect and honor you, they'll know that, okay, this person is on a different path, right? And if I respect their time, and what they're on, I'll have to move accordingly. So for me, I just feel like it's a way. At first, it may be difficult, right? Because now people are like, oh, you're acting so different. You're moving different. You're acting stuck up. But what it does over time, it kind of weeds away the people that's not for you. Because the people that's for you, they're going to respect you. They're going to respect your boundaries. They're not going to feel some type of way. So for me, it's definitely been free. It actually frees me, because now people know what to come to me for. They won't ask me to do certain things because they know this, I'm not going to do it. So now, yeah, so it's like they're automatically choosing, okay, I can only come to him for this and for that. And now that allows you to be able to spend more time, you know, with yourself. And then when you do decide to engage in certain activities and certain things, you're actually there because you want to be there, right? So now the interaction is different, the energy is different, you know?
No, that's good. I like you said the example about the schedule and people respecting your time. I think that's a big part of it as well. But so you are, if I'm correct, you're in your single season, right? And you're working on yourself. How do you think self-love specifically has affected you in your single season with hopes that you will eventually meet someone, right? So do you feel like self-love has put you in a position, or you're working on it, that when you meet someone, you'll be a better version of who you are today?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what self-love does. And the thing is, you know, a lot of times when we're single, we feel like I could just do whatever I want to do. Right. And what I've realized is that when you're single, you should be way more intentional. Well, I won't say way more, but just as intentional as when you're in a relationship. Because now you have all the time. You can be very selfish because you're not dividing your time. Right. You can really 10x on whatever, whether it's a skill you want to learn, whatever it is you want to do, you can actually 10x. So for me, I feel like if you're actually using singleness the correct way, you just become better as a person, right? You become better mentally. You should be working on your body, physically, spiritually. You're more whole as a person. So, and like I said earlier, the better you become, the better you attract. You know, so for me, I love the journey. Like, I don't know how it is for women, but for me personally, like, I would be like, I can't wait. I need to have my husband. I need to start my family. But for me, it's like, there's no rush because every single day is like, okay, I have an extra day to get better. And if I get better, I'm gonna attract better. So like, I'm gonna just keep getting better to attract better. There's a lot of, it's a lot of better, but that's for me, man. That's my single season. That's how that's how I'll be looking at it instead of making it a, you know, I was talking to Caleb. He's like, man, I want my wife, man. I need my wife. That's cool, you know. I want my wife too, but at the same time, you know, until that happens, I feel like I'm not losing if I'm handling my singleness the correct way. If I'm working on my mind, my body, my spirit, it's just going to make me that much more valuable and that much more whole as a man. So when I do get in a relationship, you know, those traumas have been dealt with and I can actually love a woman the correct way.
That's, we spend our single season so focused on trying to find a relationship, then we're really not enjoying the journey or even learning, right? And making ourselves better for when we meet that person. So that's good that you're really intentional. Now, I don't want you to give away all your tips or what you look for, but like when you meet a woman that maybe you're interested in and you interact with them, is there like something that you look for? I just asked for one thing that you look for when it comes to self-love to see if she exhibits that. Like, does she truly love herself? Is there anything that you might look for?
Yeah. I look for boundaries. So like for me, I just feel like if you're like really on the journey, you know, you should like make it clear from the jump. Okay, hey, these are my guidelines, right? I don't want to be able to call you, hang out with you at any moment. I just pick the phone up. Hey, Jay Rich, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want you to be that available because you got your work. You're your first priority, right? I'm just coming in here. So if you're you know, if you're just that available, I can just call you at any moment, anytime, you know, and you're just available. It's kind of like, you know, like, where's the boundaries? That's one of the things I look for. Like, okay, you know, is she just easily swayed, or she's like, okay, yo, listen, if you want to see me, you need to see me between this time and that time, right? Because I got meditate, I got to work out, I got to do this, I got to do that. So if you really want to see me, this is when I'm available, right? So there's a woman that's clear. I look for that. That's one of the things I look for. What else?
I didn't want you to give them all away.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's one of the main things, man. That's like a woman that's clear, and that's I respect that.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I think boundaries and respecting, like she knows that you're looking if she respects her time as well. Because
Right.
personally, when people ask for things last minute, even when I've dated folks, I always felt like an afterthought anyway. So I can understand when it comes to boundaries and respecting time. All right, the last thing I want to ask you, just before we leave. So I know that you have a book. You said you're an author, Faith, Purpose, and Love. So, like, tell me a little bit about your book and how you came about writing it.
Yeah, so my book is there's a section on faith, and I'm a firm believer that you have to believe in something bigger than yourself, right? We're here for, like you didn't just appear here. It's something bigger than you and I. And if you're living life not believing there's something bigger, then there's an issue. Like there has to be something that's bigger. There has to be something that we put our hope in. Because it gets crazy on earth, right? But having that hope and knowing, okay, like, for me, my moral code is the Bible and in God, the way I believe, just having that faith allows me to know that, okay, every day won't be dark, right? Today may be super dark, but tomorrow will come, So for me, that's faith, just having something to believe in. And then purpose is about understanding that I'm not a mistake, right? If I believe that God is perfect, right, which means that he can't be unperfect, which means that he created me for a perfect plan, right? So I'm here for a reason, right? So that's purpose for me. I'm here for a reason, to do a specific thing. And if I live my life and I do all these amazing things and to everybody else I'm amazing, if I did not do the thing that I was created to do, then it's like my existence was wasted, right? It's just like this pen, right? If I purchase this pen, I'm purchasing this pen to write, right? If it doesn't write, okay, I could use this as I don't know, ball. I could shoot this around. I could do so many other things with this. But if it doesn't do what it was purchased to do or purpose to do, it was wasted. You know what I'm saying? And then love, the section on love. Like my belief is that a soul that decides to never love again will never live again. And a lot of times, we go through life's breakups and like different situations, and we feel like, yo, I love this love thing that's not going to work. And I like to say, man, every single soul were put on earth to love and for love, So that's the three sections on it. I wrote it because just going through my life and like, just assess, like you say, just spend that time with myself and assess my thoughts and my mind. I'm like, okay. And being a, person that likes to inspire others, I would just always tweet. And then one day I just looked down my Twitter. I'm like, yo, I got all these original tweets. It's not like from a book. They're not from anybody else. And I'm like, I need to put this in a book, And I was able to take those tweets, those quotes, and like elaborate on them. And that's how the book came about.
You know what? That is so awesome because I think there's so many things that we do every day, and you just took quotes that you just made. You know what I mean? You probably weren't thinking about a book, and then you was able to create a book out of that. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually really good, and that shows that you're not afraid to step out and do something more than, because you could have left it at just posts, right?
Right.
Tweets, but did something more. So, well, MJ, I thank you for making some time to talk to me today about self-love. I'm going to share this. So how can others find you, your social media platforms?
So at Mixpirations on Instagram, it's MCSPIRATIONS at Mixpirations. You can find me on there. You'll find all my links on there. Where you're looking for fitness, inspiration, mental diet, I'm your guy.
All right. Well, thank you, MJ. I appreciate your time.
Have me, J. Rich. Thank you.
All right.